out there and makes an impact to few people. And moving to the next part where we talk about aspects of mentoring, post graduation, importance of that, and self-directed learning, which is a pedagogy that we've developed for our new platform, EduLab India. Now, EduLab India, just a brief introduction, is a platform that we've been working on for the last 5 years actually, and has been building in the backdrop of RATLab Education, where we have been accumulating all our knowledge, all our teaching methodologies, all our resources into a single collective platform. And then we always thought that we would actually make this accessible to all for a very important cause that I always thought, that how can we make education smart and how can we make education affordable and accessible to all. So it's a very, very cost effective platform that we have developed, which is actually going to be a subscription based platform, opened by invitation only to the RATLab education community to start with, which will run this entire community, and then we can start to open it up to various students across India. This is an India centric platform because we are making the knowledge that we have built over the years through the means of videos, through the means of podcasts, through the means of interviews like these, through the means of ebooks, through the means of knowledge and information that we have built into a collective platform where we provide mentoring. There's a mentor board, we provide discussions, we provide free workshops to the students who are a part of this community on an yearly basis, basically. So anybody who's a part of this platform get access to free education once you enter the platform, and then you're paying a very, very small nominal charge based on the Indian standards, not on the global standards of design education, because there's a very, very large disparity. And we know that making education affordable is a big challenge. So we are taking this bold step, and after the platform gets launched, we have actually pledged that RATLab Education will not do any workshops at all. So we are actually killing all the 5 years of work that we have done, and all of this will be done only in that platform, completely for free and accessible to all. So that's the kind of mission that we are on, and I really hope that this goes into the deeper networks of architectural design education and accessible to all the students across India. And that is what our challenge, and for that we are asking all the students to kind of support and become a part of this platform and spread it and refer it to various students who should be able to kind of become a part of the platform at a very, very affordable kind of price to pay for the education that we are going to be providing continuously for the entire year. So that's the kind of motive, and I hope that kind of sounds exciting to people out there as well, because we have been very excited about this. We have lost many days of sleep over this to make this happen and convert this dream into a reality, and very soon this is going to be there in place. So yeah, since this part is going to be accessible to the platform, I would like to talk about the aspects of post graduation first to start with. Now that's something where I think students find a lot of confusion. When you're doing architecture, and I'll tell you from my personal experience and journey. When I was a student, like when I was in second year or third year, I would say, we had a lecture from someone who came from University of Sydney and gave us a lecture. I think his name was Gaurav Malhotra. He's an architect, and he studied digital architecture that time in early 2000s. And I'm talking of year 2006 or 7, like, and we are in 2020 right now. That time, he presented his works on digital architecture, which he learned in Australia. Now, as a second year student, the first thing that I asked him, a question which I hate answering when I get asked even till now, that what softwares did you use to do this? It's a kind of cliched question which we often get. And I remember asking that question, and I asked him, like, can we build this in India, and can we do this in India? And that's the question of every Indian architect that we have, and we will continue to have that for a while. I got really fascinated with that, and I got really pushed towards understanding that education outside of India was actually offering something which we did not have exposure to. And I started to explore various post-graduation programs that exist. In fact, at that time as a student, I never knew that there is a post-graduation required in architecture. Like my father never studied any masters. He did his bachelor's of architecture from SPA Delhi, and he went on to working for years and years. And we were never exposed to that if a post-graduation is required. But now things are different. People know that post graduation is important, that is required. And my problem right now is that even at that time we used to think that, what do I want to study? Landscape architecture, sustainability, urban design, these are the various fields of architecture. And then suddenly came in digital architecture, and I was like, what is digital architecture? And that's when I had to research, and I came across various programs which had various modules or electives or agenda of computational design. It was not very commonly called computational design, it was called digital architecture, digital tools. The word parametric was not very common. But nowadays, when you have so many master's programs, I think every master's focuses on computational design in one way or the other. Even if you go study urban design, you will have some kind of aspect of computation in some way or the other, using spatial analytics and various kind of things. If you study digital fabrication, you are studying computational design. So I think as a student, I would say you need to be first you need to be open minded to see that whatever you do will have components of digital technology. So don't get too pushed towards choosing a program which is only focusing on computational design, because that is not meant for everyone. Before you dig into that, you need to train yourself, which I never got to do too much, I would say, through workshops, through programs, through learning, self learning, and all sorts of things about, like finding the right direction for yourself, because nobody's going to tell you what programs you should be in. But at the same time, I would say, write politely, send emails to the directors of these programs. Every person responds. Internationally, I'm talking of. But send a polite email and wait for a response. Give it some time. Don't be impatient of, sending too many emails to someone and asking for a reply, or don't send Instagram messages or Facebook messages too much. That kind of kills the whole point as well of professionalism. But write to the programs, write to people who studied these programs, understand, get the insights, spend some time in researching what you want to go for, and then choose the right city as well. Like for example, I would say, if you're planning to go outside of India and learning a program, city plays a big role. Whether you're going to a remote university town in UK, or you're going to a main city, or like a New York in US, all of them have different offerings to play. Or a vibrant place like London to a very chilled out place like Los Angeles, I would say. Everything has a different role to play. So you need to like be very careful about the city, the program, and then the university. All of these things play. I think a lot of students get trapped into this methodology that which university has a good ranking, for example. You go online and find like top 10 universities. I personally feel that's the wrong approach. You should find out your top 10 which you know about, and do your research, on ground research, and find out about those 10, and then maybe find out about the next 10, and that's how it should build. And then you look into the factors of affordability, scholarships. A lot of people are not even aware of scholarships. That's what we are trying to bring in on board in this platform as well, that we are trying to bring in a section, and very soon you will have section on where various people who are offering scholarships can actually put in the information, and people can apply for scholarships for their masters. So basically people can fund people for masters. At the same time, I'm also looking at aspects of private scholarships as well, where not just as an institution, but people as companies can offer scholarships to people for supporting their education fully or partially, with some sort of contractual basis, where students can kind of bring in the knowledge into the company as well. And these are like some very very underexplored ideas, and we don't have guidance to these things. When I was doing a master, somebody told me that you know this company in India is going to sponsor 30% of your fee. In return, you have to come back and work for them for 1 year. So it's a win-win situation. I will get an experience, I have a secured job, right? And then I get my this thing funded. So there are various ways of tweaking new methods of seeking a scholarship. At the same time, talking of mentoring, which you mentioned, for that I would say the mentor board that we have right now on board as a part of EduLab India is actually a fantastic network that we've kind of built over the years, which can help students to come up with challenges of talking to these mentors, and I myself making myself very, very accessible and available to the community members who can reach out to me for various things and help, not just for professional help but for personal help as well at times, about, as I mentioned, about mental health issues. We are all pressured and into various situations, and we feel the same situation as well. So we need to talk to someone, talk to a mentor who we can reach out to in a situation of crisis, because nobody tells you how to react when you have a crisis. You're kind of broken and shattered. What do? You need to speak to someone, but people out there will not be available. So the mentor board allows you to reach out to any of us on the platform and be able to interact with us. We can schedule an appointment, put our availabilities, and I think that is really helping people in a very formal environment to hold free sessions and conversations with students to help them out. And I think this will bring in a very open learning environment as in years to come. And talking of the self-directed learning, so the content that we put together in this platform itself, it really is based on a self-directed learning pedagogy, which means that whatever we are doing in the sector of education and design education, we are actually putting in all of that information accessible for free to everyone to access, but in a very sequential manner. So initially you get access to a few things. Only once you are able to access those things and have sufficient knowledge gained, we open up new advanced tools, for example. So you have these like basic videos of learning various kind of tools of like Grasshopper, for example. Only after you run through those 20 videos and learn from them, you get access to the next 20 as well. And the platform itself kind of tracks that you have learned or not. So it's a self-directed automated platform where everybody can find their ways. At the same time, it's a social networking platform. You can post a problem and then you have the hundreds and thousands of community members who solve a problem. And this is exactly how I learned through grasshopper3d.com as well, because most of us who learned Grasshopper pretty much posted our problems and still do on grasshopper3d.com, and people are there to reach out to you and help solve your problems. So the whole idea is that if I have a problem, or even if I have to hire someone, I can put a job posting as well for a computational designer, and I can get the best kind of talented individuals. So this is really taking everyone, all of us, forward in a very innovative manner and changing the industry for good, I would say. So I think learning, mentoring, these things are becoming very important as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And I totally agree. Like when you talked about finalizing your top 10 universities based on your preference of knowledge. So, like, I am in University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign, which is like 2 hours from Chicago. So, I
Right.
personally observed that in calling jury, sometimes
Yeah.
it's difficult to get people from Chicago. But let's say you are in IIT Chicago, which is relatively a lower ranking, but they get access
Right.
to so many jury members because there are lots of good companies in Chicago. So, there are lots of pros and cons with each university option you choose.
Right. No, that's a very valid point actually, and I'm glad you're sharing this insight with us, because I think these things play a very important role. So there are pros and cons for everything. I'm sure you would have realized, as a master student as well yourself, that uh, everything would have pros and cons. But I think it's very important to form your network wherever you are, and be a part of that community. That's what I learned when I was at the A. Like we had Bartlett right next door. Like so we could actually walk into Bartlett's juries and listen to those juries if time allowed, of course. And we had to make time for ourselves. But at the same time, I think I met so many fantastic people when I was in London. And if I think of it, like people who were in a university town, but different kind of facilities, like who had a huge campus, for example. Like Aid does not have a big campus. It is like an institution. It's a building, but in the heart of the city. But what that teaches you, being in that city, is a completely different thing altogether than what you learn in a university in another town. But at the same time, that university town allows you to grow in a certain different way as well, which might be beneficial for someone else. So it really depends where you are. And so I think these things are very important when you're considering how to choose your master's program, I would say. And yeah, I think that's very important. And also I would like to add about the self-directed learning, how that is going to be the future of design education as well. Because right now what's happening is we are flooded with information, we are loaded with a lot of information out there. How do you choose what to learn and where to learn from? There are like millions of videos on YouTube, for example, but which is the video which is right for you? And that is where it becomes important to learn as a community, rather than learning by yourself. Like, I am by myself, I can have my phone, I'm alone. But what if I had like 40 more people who are looking at the similar content together, and I can see what, Mayur, what you are learning right now. If you are interested in coding and you're learning about coding, and you're sharing that you are learning about coding right now, or you're looking at these videos about coding, I get to see, hey, Mayur is looking at coding. Maybe I want to learn about coding as well. So this is what the self-directed platform is actually doing for everyone, that it is not a social media platform where you're just scrolling what somebody else is doing and showing you. It is a very transparent platform where people can see what the others are doing, what they are creating out of it. People are showing pictures on the gallery and they're posting information. My entire office is on this platform right now, and they are creating some fantastic stuff, and we are sharing it all together. The whole meaning of sharing is completely changing. It is not only about making Instagram posts, like Instagram, Facebook, they have become representational mediums or representational portfolios for everyone, which is why we need to shift to a new environment. Because my Instagram, for example, or your Instagram or somebody else's Instagram is their portfolio now. I can't share what I'm doing every day on a daily basis on my Instagram, because I have to put things which looks good on my feed. So I need this kind of an informal platform where we are working on a cool project, and we made some 10 cool renders, and I tell my office team that, guys, just put it on the platform, and they go just upload it on EduLab platform, and then everybody in that community can see what we are doing at the studio. Everybody that is experimenting by learning a software or a coding or a ZBrush or a Maya or a Grasshopper can actually put the stuff out there. And I think that is giving the drive for everyone to learn more and more. So that is what self-directed pedagogy is all about. But at the back of end, RATLab education is actually curating all of that and making sure that we are passing the right information, we are filtering the right information, and we are kind of curating the entire platform in a manner where we can bring in workshops for free. So everybody can access to at least 4 free workshops in 1 year. So it makes them learn. Anybody as an exclusive member can actually have advanced workshop access as well for free. And now we are getting a lot of people on board to do free workshops on this platform, and we are actually sponsoring those workshops basically. So we are paying those individuals that do an exclusive workshop, but for free for our community, but we're going to pay you, so you're not at a loss, people are not at a loss as well. So that's like kind of a give back to the community from our side. So I think that's something that is definitely changing the way we are going to learn in the future as well. And I think it's setting up into a very interesting platform. And the first year is very, very interesting, because what the community will become in the second year is going to be shaped by all the team members of the first year, which is all of us right now. And I think that is the most exciting part. So I think that's, one thing that I'm, looking forward to keep developing into this community of EduLab India.
Yeah. And I think, Sushant, the best part about this portal would be the transparency and the community factor. Because I personally know when I was starting with the journey of parametric design, I was scrolling through various YouTube tutorials, online websites, and after 6 to 8 hours, I came across good stuff. So if I had this community, I could directly ask to someone, hey, I'm just starting out in this new field. Can you share some resources or books or tutorials?
Absolutely. See, the thing is, that's actually, I mean, you're right on that. See, right, today, if I write on Facebook or Instagram or my stories that, guys, I need some help to choose whether I should learn this or that, or which is this book better or that book better, or can you suggest me some books on this thing? Hardly anybody would respond right now, because everybody's busy in creating their own content. People are becoming very much available on social media, yet unavailable for each other. But when you are learning towards a single goal, into this community, yeah, you can ask these questions and there are people to help you out. And if there's nobody to help you out, rat lab education is definitely helping everyone out together. So now if I say that, I read this new book and this is an amazing book for architects, I would recommend. So I can just tell all my community members to read about this, and everybody knows that, hey, Sushant just read that book, or I posted a particular video or a cool thing that we shared. And I think that's the most important thing. And I think another important thing that we have introduced for the the third category members is the accelerator program, which we have really been trying to develop. Now I'll tell you a bit about the RattleApp accelerator program as well, although there's a description on that part on the website as well. But uh, so accelerator program is where we are encouraging students to become design entrepreneurs, and we are funding people to develop into a company, into a scalable company through the design or technology driven ideas. So anybody who has a design on technological idea in place in the field of computational design or anything else which is related, we are providing funding and a decent amount of backup to initiate that as a company and make sure that the person develops an entrepreneurial skills to develop that as a company. So that will actually take away from the dependency on jobs, because you're creating your own jobs. And that I think has to cultivate in the culture. It's going to be a slow change. It's not something that is going to happen overnight, but hopefully this encourages a lot of people to pursue entrepreneurship in different ways, because that's something that I have done myself in my life as well, which is what has allowed me to expand RattleLab and scale up RattleLab in different directions in different ways, and becoming financially independent as well. So I think this is something that the pandemic actually taught us, that when we saw so many people losing their jobs and suddenly realizing that, hey, what do we do now? So, and you can't just start a company like that. You don't have the right skill sets. So you need people to kind of train you towards a certain direction. So getting these experts on board, getting the investment bank on board, where we can help you accelerate in a certain manner, I think that's something that is hopefully going to give you the next big design tech companies within the field of architecture in India. And I think that's going to be revolutionary. And I hope that really happens and we are a part of that change as well, because that's pretty much what our vision is. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's quite interesting because what I see is like in the community, you find like minded people. And if you find that compatibility, you can even start a company together and apply for that
Absolutely.
accelerated program.
Absolutely. The moment you say, and I'll tell you, like, so I mentioned, recently another thing as well, that in another interview recently, that about the accelerator program, that, we are committing that about 10 to 15 lakhs of investment we are putting in on smaller companies and multiple of these. And we are trying to bring in more people on board to invest these companies as well. So we're looking at a good amount of decent capital size in a small company segment. I mean, we're not looking at typical accelerators where you think, okay, I have an idea, I will go through a series funding, I will actually make it into a large venture, because I have seen a lot of people get trapped into that, because you invest a lot of time into it and you're not able to form, because you kind of are shown dreams which are far-fetched, to be honest. Somebody will come and say, okay, a few $1 million, but that sounds very interesting. But to make that happen, you need to go through a certain kind of series of steps and build a prototype. But we are looking at smaller companies, we're looking at smaller collaborative ventures. Somebody who can do like coding and art together, for example, and has an idea of getting into e-commerce. We have the right channels, putting in some seed capital to make that float into a company, and the people can grow it and scale it up. So we are looking into that, and it's a developing program. And I hope by the end of first year we are able to come up with some exciting new companies out of this platform, and led by some fantastic people out there, who are listening to this.
Mhm. And I would like to know your opinion on self-directed learning part. So many times, personally, what I feel is when we are learning something new, let's say we watch few videos and you
Right.
apply the same tutorial, and but
Right.
what's the next step forward when we want to apply that in our own projects, but we
Right.
don't get feedback that what are the ways you can improve? So
Right. I think that's where a lot of people get stuck, because you need a sense of direction and how to apply that. So a lot of people get stuck that, and see, that happens because a lot of people have developed technical skills, but they don't have application skills because they have been a part of, very short term learning. But when you have exposure to theory of things, when you have exposure to certain kind of tools, tool sets and toolkits, you automatically develop applications of, and there are plenty of competitions that we are floating in as well, and we're not like doing it ourselves. We have like a lot of competitions out there. We're just encouraging people to use the competition skill within the community and to collaborate with each other and work on these competitions, because that can be an exciting opportunity. That's how I've learned as well. We worked on so many competitions as testing grounds for us. That becomes our application platform. So you need to take up these competitions not from the purpose of just winning the competition or losing it or whatever, but from the perspective that it will be a testing pad for yourself. And you can't do it alone. You have to do it in community or in team. And that's what, the community allows you to do, that you can find the right kind of people, you can collaborate with them, you can talk to them otherwise and connect otherwise on other platforms as well, and develop into this interesting design methodologies as well through various projects. At the same time, what we are also trying to bring in some design exercises that we are doing or research that we're doing at RatLab Studio as a part of these smaller competitions. So people can contribute as application processes. So it's completely an academic exercise. That say we're working on a facade project, and we think it's an interesting opportunity that why can't we have like other 1,000 people working on this thing together as well? So we float out that idea that we are working on this project. These are our constraints. Why don't we come up with ideas? So people who really want to apply their skills, you have a brief right in front of you on an actual project. And if we actually like the idea, if we implement that, then we get that person on board. And then we pay that person a certain amount for that idea as well. So you're actually working towards not like floating around your free ideas out there, but actually getting paid for the chosen ideas as well. And I think this is really encouraging creativity and open ecosystem and open learning as well, which at large leads to innovation of the society and community, which is what we're trying to do. So I think these are the kind of steps which should allow people to kind of innovate and evolve in this kind of a platform.
Mhm. Yeah, I think